swab these things. Like
Well,
everywhere
then
you go,
you get moisture inside the microphone. That's not a good idea.
the alcohol will instantly evaporate. You just need to have the alcohol wipe. Holy smoke! Because I'm like all up on this damn thing, and I realize I don't know who's been up on this mic.
Well, if we don't tell you, then you don't.
Just don't
know.
lick it. You're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay.
I mean, it's good advice. You shouldn't lick the microphone.
No, but look, I'm leaning out right now with my chin. A lot of plosives, just to make some people angry. Why don't you put some pop filters on that? Because there's too many plosives when you talk without a pop filter.
Exactly. Welcome to my world. All right, we're here. We've already got Whiskey Omega. We got Giffany. We got Vignesh. We got Jorge.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, what's up? I've been reminded not to call people the internet. They're upset, so we're going to call people nerds. Apparently, which is
Will's here
these days. And I'm actually looking for...
Oh, we're live. I'm not paying attention.
Yeah,
we're
live.
No one's,
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, well, you know, people are already ready because they knew about the special
it's
thing.
a hot topic. People want to talk about all this stuff.
Oh, I forgot. We have Discord for questions now.
Yeah, I'll be I'll be announcing that. I mean, it's not the only
and
place.
Actually see it.
There are no questions. For some reason, Gordon Ung put something in there, but that is not a question.
He had a question, but we're not answering it.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. It's not a server. Oh, you get a Discord server? Really? You get a Discord server for free? They really just set aside like maybe a 8-core Xeon so you can run the server? No, and it's just an instance about.
Is that your segue?
About 5,000 other servers, people on the server. You don't get a server. It's in the cloud. It's just, what the heck?
Well, the cloud is a server. I mean, to be fair.
The cloud is someone else's computer, yes. That's the old classic joke.
Looks like I might need to check my focus. Nope, I'm good. All right. What are we doing today, Gordon?
We are talking, hot stuff, Xeon W3175X. Yeah, that just rolls right off the tongue.
I thought it was 3975X.
Yeah, it was. You know, it's amazing that you can actually type Xeon W3170X, and there's a dash, thank you, Intel, about 900 times and still get it wrong in one place. In the most important place. But you know what?
That's okay.
That was coming in hot. That was definitely
copy editors employed.
That was one engine out, and a rudder busted off, landing on the deck of an aircraft carrier.
What's pretty great is we had originally the wrong product number in our review this morning, and I changed it a few hours ago. And once we changed it to the right product number, people actually started reading the review. So
that's a plus. I want to know about the new. We're at 31. We got the 39 over here. 28 core Xeon. Exciting stuff. Crazy thing, it's actually affordable for an Intel CPU. And
there's a qualifier.
Oh, and of course, you know what's insane? The news cycle here is nuts. Is RTX laptops, all of the benchmarks finally hit the streets this week, and it feels like it was a month ago, doesn't it? It feels like a month ago to me anyway. I don't know if everybody else does.
Hello, Tejas.
It was literally yesterday. It feels so long ago.
I know. It's insane. Was it yesterday or the day before? It was actually
yesterday.
But it feels like, it's been, let's just say
a lot has happened for you in the last day.
We've been working on it. We've been working on stuff.
Yeah, and actually, I'm excited to talk to people because, I haven't had a chance to read everybody's reviews, but everybody, I think, generally lines up as a reviewer. You're always afraid, like, oh, hopefully I didn't screw up and, like, my numbers are way off. And it does happen. It has happened in my life. Everybody generally agrees on the performance. So, and mostly then it comes down to positioning, and I definitely want to hear what people have to say about that. So, whenever people are ready to go. Wait, Elena's still trying to log into Discord.
I am, but it's fine. It's okay.
Why don't you call up and have them reboot the server?
I don't think that solves my problem logging in.
Whiskey Omega says you're very pedantic today, Gordon.
That's because I'm tired. It's been a week of 12 and 14-hour days, so and a solid week, so... I lost it. Hopefully I don't get something that gets me fired.
Let's not do that. Okay. I think we're good. I think we're
Mickey Mouse might be watching if we're gonna get that Disney deal finally.
Yep. We even got some people tuning in on Twitter.
Oh my gosh. 77 new messages since yesterday.
All right, cool.
Okay, we're ready?
Let me take this down, and I am ready.
All right, everybody ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just use all my energy.
You can do it, Gordon.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, Intel's... Wait, which camera? Is it because we switched to that one the other
people?
day?
Yeah,
Three
but there's
people.
three people, so
people.
wide
All right,
camera.
I
2
can't-
people, 3 people.
Why is there not a red light? You think
It's called a tally
professional,
light?
we got the light.
It's called
they
a
don't
tally
clean
light.
the mics off.
Tally
What's
light
next?
systems are very expensive, actually.
We can just set up a jerry rig, just like a red light bulb.
Yeah,
and
there
just
you go.
flick it on
A
and off for
flashlight
him.
with
Yeah.
the paper taped over it. And you go. In this episode of The Full Nerd, Intel's insane 28-core Xeon and RTX laptops finally arrive. I see.
You got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Pretty much first try.
I got the camera wrong. That's close. Welcome to The Full Nerd, episode 83. I'm your host, Gordon Maung, with co-host Brad Charkis.
Hello.
And Elaine Yee, who will be ordering pizza in the middle of this podcast.
You didn't have to tell them that I was doing that. Dang. Let's go try
She's
to
celebrating.
Spoilers.
Well, I'll bring that up. I just want to bring it up now. She's going to be ordering pizza to celebrate that that her group of walking folks here, you know, where you log, this is a work thing, make everybody feel good. You log how far you've walked and you're in a competition. So they're celebrating.
And we won. Our team won.
Our team won.
But you're
Yeah.
celebrating
Our team won. That's all that
by
matters.
having a pizza. That's like basically, oh my God.
No. We called ourselves Pizza Army for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole point of walking is to be healthy, and you're celebrating with a pizza. It's essentially like, Brad hasn't heard this. This is like celebrating. Oh my God, you've had a year of sobriety. Let's go have a drink. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works.
I exercise so I can eat, Gordon.
Yeah, that is totally how it works. That is definitely how it works.
Okay. And Anna Patrick Murray controlling the vertical and horizontal.
You know, Gordon, today is a very special day. You know why?
Why?
Because we have officially launched the Full Nerd Discord channel. The Discord, if you haven't heard of it, is a server in the cloud where you can chat with other like-minded people. And guess what? We have one now called the Full Nerd. I will put the link to it's in the description. I'll put it in the audio description. But then also the fine people in the chat right now. I'm going to drop a link right now. Right now, it's very basic. It's we just have a general channel and then also a question channel. So if you ever if you're ever in the middle of the week and you're like, oh man, I have this question I want the Full Nerd to remember, and you don't remember the email that Gordon tells you to send questions to, because nobody does.
Yeah.
You can drop it here.
We'll send questions. We can get to them anyway.
True. Yeah. Well, at least on Discord, I'm going to be able to see it. And both Elena and I are in there. We're chatting with people. The expectation is we're not always going to be in there. We're not. This isn't like an official place to hound us, but it is a way that if you want to participate with other PC-centric people, you can go in there,
Hang out
and have
make
some
friends.
fun. Yeah, make some friends. So we have plans for this, to make it bigger, but we want your feedback. What kind of channels should we create? What kind of discussion topics do we want? For the most part, it's
Gordon
PC.
is typing.
I'm in there now. I just
Gordon's
wrote
typing.
it is not. I wrote it is not a server, because everybody says, "Oh, a Discord server." We mentioned this earlier. It's not. It's not like
I mean, there
they're
is a
giving
server
you
somewhere,
a
Gordon.
Xeon
There's a
sitting
server somewhere.
Yeah, there is a server, but it's not like you. I'm sorry, but
It doesn't say
Oh my
private
God.
server. I'm not calling this a private
Is
server.
that your bus? Yeah, it's my bus. I thought you just paid $1 and you're riding on the bus. No, I get a bus. I would never say I get
if
a bus.
you pay for it,
I'm
you
on
partially
the
own it,
bus.
right?
No, that's not true, Gordon. In English language, you wouldn't say that the bus I am riding on is late. You would just say my bus is late.
But you wouldn't say, yeah, it's my bus, like as in possessive, my bus. I'm gonna go drive it somewhere. Oh, sorry. Hey, we're getting off track.
Xeon,
The important
Xeon.
thing. So we are way off track now. But the important thing is Xeon. Big news today.
Here it is.
I'm gonna get it right. Xeon W-3175X is
Oh my
out.
goodness.
Speaking of being able to roll your own server,
Yeah,
Speaking
speaking
of
of
servers.
holy smokes, I got one of them up in the cloud. I got one from Discord running on as one of them Xeons. No, but this is the big news. Is of course the Xeon. Let's go back to history. They showed off at Computex last summer, turned into a huge fiasco because they neglected to say it was an overclock part at 5 gigahertz. But you know, anybody who knows computers knows you weren't going to get a clock stock at 5 gigahertz. They talked about it. They officially unveiled it in September when they unrolled the 9900K, and now it is actually finally officially here. A little late, couple months late, but it is here. It is a 28-core Xeon, a Skylake SP, and it's a monster, right? It is a monster CPU. You could read my review of it on PC World today, or, you know, there's other reviews. I encourage people to read everybody's reviews to form your opinion, but it's uniformly, most people would agree that it's a monster CPU. It's simply stupidly fast. It's basically a CPU made to compete with AMD's 32-core Threadripper, as much as I think so. And it's almost uniformly faster than Threadripper in everything. Well, not a lot in some things, but in some things it's pretty damn close. But for the most part, it's got a decent performance advantage over Threadripper, even under heavily multi-threaded tasks.
Wow, that's even with all those fewer cores.
Yeah.
Well, we already have our first question. Atomic's asking, why not 5 gigahertz stock? Like, you know,
yeah, I mean,
come on,
because I mean, it's not possible with the CPU today. I mean, I know you're throwing shade at Intel, and I agree that was not.
I mean, if you get a blast chiller though. The part that made me realize this chip is a monster is when I was scrolling through your review and I saw the picture of the motherboard, but not one, but two of the big 24-pin power connectors.
Yeah,
Oh, you can hear that thing at idle.
It's right behind my desk, and it's very loud.
It's very loud.
I think Adam called it a white noise machine.
Yeah,
everybody
it's
was
the most
happy
expensive white noise machine ever.
It has an Asetek. I tested it with an Asetek cooler. There's, I think, a couple different ones for it now, but it's an Asetek cooler with just a CLC, and I think it's rated. I got the numbers for it this morning from Asetek. It's a 500 watt, rated for 500 watts, which is very similar to what I used, you know, if you believe them. The Animax cooler I used for the Threadripper review is also supposedly a 500 watt CLC cooler too. So, but yeah, so stock clock, I guess, should I go through the numbers? It's just 28 cores for the most part. Should we run that first benchmark chart?
Which one?
Let's do the one everybody cares. We're going to run two, right? So we'll do the one with the Cinebench performance.
The R15, the one that nobody can read?
The one that nobody can read because it's so tiny.
All right, there it is. Yeah, somebody try to read that because I can't. It is really small.
It's really hard to read.
Please tell us.
But so, and I've been doing this. I think it's somewhat valid. I think it's very valid. What I use Cinebench, and I run from 1 to 64 threads on both Threadripper 3264 and the 2856 Xeon, amount of threads and cores. And I just look at I looked at the performance result for both of the parts, and you can see that, you know, mostly in the very on the left, actually, in the left hand side chart, on the left hand side of the chart where it's lighter loads, it's actually closer than I expected it to be. I really thought that the Xeon would have an advantage, but once you get up to about 17, 18 threads and all the way up to about 39, it's got a really nice performance advantage, which I base. It's some of it is clock speeds because it does run at higher clocks than Ryzen, Threadripper, stock. Both of these run, you know, stock as much as you want to say stock. But another part of it is this CPU is not a normal CPU, right? Again,
in plenty of ways.
In plenty of ways.
So somebody in chat real quick is asking, what was it, Northern Tech Hermit, what power supplies were needed for this Xeon?
So it was a single 1600 watt EVGA power supply. It could be 1500. I think it was 1600. And we didn't get close to loading that one up. I didn't run two power supplies. The reason why I'm saying it's not normal is the motherboard for it. There's two of them. There's the Asus Dominus Extreme. I picked it up at Computex. It weighs 10 pounds. And the other one is a Gigabyte A1X. These are the reason they're not. You know, you look at it and you go, "Oh, it's extended ATX." They're not. They're actually SSI spec motherboards for servers. These are both about 14 by 14.
Oh, okay. So there wasn't eATX after all.
No, not at all. It's actually SSI spec, which is the server infrastructure. It's a non-ATX spec, but these are huge. So you may have a hard time.
It's a big system.
It's a big system, and I'm saying it's not usual because this CPU stock clock very fast, but it's clearly made to overclock from the beginning.
I was really impressed with the overclocks you were getting.
Right, and I'm just, I was just screwing around. At the very end, I ran out of time. I did some overclocking just to see, and I was running up at like 4.1 all cores, 4.2, and the actual Cinebench score is actually greater than the world record for 28 core class at HWBot, which I think was done with the 8180, which is basically the server version of the CPU, but at a much lower clock. Mm-hmm. And the person was able to run on, I think, at 3.1 or something like that. Well, 3.1 is the base clock of this thing. So it's just a smoking fast CPU at stock clock. And getting up to 4.1, I did with just, again, an Ace-Tech CLC. Talking with board vendors at CES, their early reports are, they think, 5 gigahertz will actually, we mentioned this last time, but you'll actually be able to get this chip up to 5 gigahertz. Probably with a decent, custom water loop. Not going to do it with the CLC necessarily, but essentially if you feed it an infinite amount of power and an infinite amount of cooling, you can get to these high clocks.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, somebody's asking about the how much power is it at idle?
Idle, I think. So, yeah, it's a power hog. So the Threadripper, one of the things, stock, the socket basically stops you at 250 watts. It's just like, that's it, no more. We're going to, blow something up. The Xeon part definitely had no problems. We were at the wall. So under heavier loads on the Ryzen, it was about 300, 350. And the Xeon, although I didn't, try to normalize the amount of fans and hardware in it, but we were definitely pushing 550 watts just running multi-threaded loads. I did the overclock, all cores up to 4.1, and I was up at 650, 700 watts. And the advice I heard was, if you really want to go for really high clocks, now a 4.1 all core overclock, that's easy, pretty much. Like anybody could do it. Even I did it in just a couple hours. If you want to get to like higher 4.8s, that 5 range, you're going to need 2 power supplies. They need to be 2 matched power supplies because you do need a single rail power supply instead of breaking up, the rails on a different rails. So you want them to be the same. So probably just buying the same vendor matched power supplies. And of course, you can need a crap load of cooling. And as we saw in the demo at Computex, they were 5 gigahertz all cores with a 1 kilowatt, liquid chiller. So
that being said, about the power concerns, I think if you're in the market for a chip like this, you don't really care how much power it takes. You just want that performance.
How many Discord servers do you think you can run on that?
I don't know, one. On my Discord server, I got a Discord server.
Yeah, you're on the Fulner Discord server, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a monster. Monster performance, monster power, monster cooling, monster prices. And first I'm going to talk about the other things around it. I didn't really get a chance to talk about in the story. Price, motherboards, I don't know. Nobody knew. I asked the vendors who are supposedly making motherboards for this chip. They don't know pricing yet. They don't know.
How much does a server motherboard normally go for?
Server motherboards, as you can imagine, are very expensive.
Can we use that to ballpark or make some kind of estimated guess?
I think Ian over at AnonTech, I think he said that the guess he was going for was $1,500 is what he was hearing. So there's actually a lot of this $1,500 I was hearing.
I guess it's hard to estimate this stuff so much because I'm not sure if I read it in yours. I know I read it in Ian's at AnonTech's. The initial batch of these are going to be out through system integrators anyway.
Right.
So it's kind of doesn't matter so much what the motherboard itself costs. It matters what the PC you're going to buy from Origin or whatever it costs.
Right. And yeah, again, you call up one of the high-end boutique vendors. I know that right now, I think Intel actually listed Box and Univision, who are probably both workstation class vendors. But The machines I saw at CES were clearly built for this motherboard and the CPU. So you will be able to get it from a lot of these boutique vendors that they have no problem selling you $20,000 PCs.
And you're going to have a special case too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a special big case. And again, motherboard might be $1,500. It also, by the way, I didn't mention 6 channels of DDR4. Does have ECC support. This morning, G.Skill sent out a release saying they have a 192 gig kit for it at DDR 4000s, something. And
I mean,
why not?
Why not, right? And there's also I have a EK water block kit. It's a CLC for it as well. But it very much is kind of a crazy CPU, right? I mean, I want to hear your opinion on this because the other rumor I heard, Ian, I think put out, is the rumor he heard at CES is there was only going to be 1,500 of these CPUs sold, right?
I believe it. I would believe that.
Yeah, it's entirely possible, but maybe that's just how many they allocate. I don't think that's any limitation, but maybe they're doing that. But I do know from Intel's intention is you'll buy it from a system integrator, boutique vendor, and then it will actually come out as they do intend to sell it as a boxed retail part. So,
people are asking how much is this thing? We haven't said the price of the chip. No, the chip itself.
The chip is $3,000. Now I know you're going like, what? $3,000? I can get a 32 core Threadripper for $1,800. This CPU at September, the guess was it was going to be $5,000, right? And then at CES, I was hearing
8,000.
Yeah, there was an 8,000, there was a 5,000 at CES. There was a resurfacing of the 4,000 number because apparently there was a European website that had listed it at $4,000. We actually did an interview with Anand at Intel, and he said no, it'll be well south of that, of the $5,000 that was circulating at the 9900K launch. It's this literally yesterday we were told it was going to be $3,000.
I love, so I don't know if everyone knows the concept of anchor points in psychology, where you can actually use this to, marketers do this all the time, where they manipulate you by saying that something's like MSRP is like this high, so that when it goes on sale or they drop the price, quote unquote, to something lower, it seems that much cheaper. And I feel like that totally just worked on me because I was like, oh, 3,000, that sounds totally reasonable.
Some people in the chat are saying that as well.
I actually think that's a pretty fair price for what you're getting for this. When you look at what
it's insane, right? It is just crazy.
I mean, I agree, but it's also funny that I feel like, but if we had expected it to come in at 3, would we be quite so pleased about it?
Okay, so I really think at $3,000, we should do the next chart.
And how many, real quick, how many cores was the one that had, that was 1725? Like just a couple years
10,
ago,
wasn't it?
$1,723. I wrote a whole song about it. Yeah.
How many cores was that? 10.
It was a 10 core. It was the Core i7. You didn't even get an i9. 6950X. $1,723.
So hey, I mean, by that, you're getting what, almost triple the cores for double the price, for less than double the price.
Adam's working on marketing.
It's at $1,723, and most Intel pricing that they put out is for tray pricing. So they're like, if you buy 1,000 of these, if you're Dell, you'll get them for $1,723. So you actually pay more at retail. Whereas with this, they're actually saying this chip's going to be $3,000.
Yeah, and the one thing too is, the tray pricing used to actually be, that was the high watermark. Eventually, after the launch, it would go lower. But that hasn't been a reality since Intel ran into these problems with 14 nanometer yields.
So with the 9900K.
I do want to say, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to say in response to that, Brad, though, it's like, if they're only selling 1,500, they don't have 1,000 to sell in a tray.
Well, I mean, that's probably about the right number to make.
No, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying there's probably a reason why they're not giving trade prices.
It's so, I mean, it really was interesting because I'm going to say, even before I had gotten the CPU for testing, I was like, because, I'd heard when a retailer, this is the problem with leaks, when the retailer says, oh, it's going to sell for $4,000. It was 4,000, whatever that weird European currency is.
Euro.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. It's the whatever C thing. Looks like a cent. They said, sorry, Europeans. They said it was like $4,000, and it was like, I got the chip. It's like, I don't know. There's really not. It's just no way it's going to be so fast that you can make it worth twice as much, right? $1,800 versus $4,000 for a thread. I was literally saying this is crazy. Like Intel has made a CPU just to make people buy more Threadrippers, to make people feel like, well, damn, that's a good price on Threadripper, right? Because at $4,000, it's just like that. Just I mean, yeah, sure. 20% faster and multi-threaded. Okay, yeah. $2,200 more. No, you just can't. So at $3,000, I was really like, okay, it's actually for Intel. In fact, let's do the bucks per thread chart.
All right, here we go.
I love how you're saying though, quote, for Intel.
It is because this chart basically I go in, I look at the list or MSRP prices of the various CPUs. I threw out all the toy CPUs. We only have big sockets here. So we get everywhere from original Threadripper to, of course, second gen Threadripper and Intel's 7. Their Skylake X parts with TIM and without TIM. With price, there's actually no change in the prices. Obviously, the stupidly good price for CPUs is the Threadripper. I mean, it's insane. $28 per thread for a 32-core Threadripper. Just a killer deal and hard to beat. But if you look at the Xeon price, which is about 3/4 of the way down, here you go.
The Xeon W, yeah.
The Xeon W3175, it's $54 per thread, which is actually in line with all of Intel's other CPUs almost. I mean, 16-core Skylake X 9960 and 7960, $53. The 18-core 7980, 9980, $55 per thread, and it was only of course the Kaby Lake and the 10-core Haswell and the 10-core Broadwell that just made absolutely no sense. And of course, you do, just for comparison, the reason why people thought $8,000 was the price of that Xeon Platinum 8176 and 8180M. So those are server CPUs, same thread, lower clocks. Of course, they have other server specialness. You can run multi CPUs. $232 per thread, 209. Those are just crazy, right? And then of course, I also threw in the rumored price of $5,000 or $4,000 is $71. It would have been unreasonable. But at $54,
I mean, it does fall in line. It does fall in line.
That's actually that's what everything else kind of costs,
So I'm wondering.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So do you think these are essentially just super binned versions of those Xeons?
Yeah.
For much.
Yeah, they're highly binned. These are the very, very best of the Xeons that you're getting here. And again, those 8180s, they're not exactly high clocks. The HW bot score for an 8180M is 5,000 at Cinebench. I was hitting 5,900 with this thing, just clocked to 4.1 and picking my nose at the same time. So you're getting a crap load more clock speeds. It's just it is very much just the entire thing is crazy, over the top. I mean, the fact that you can run 2 power supplies to get up to 5, the fact that you can run 192 gigs of RAM, and you need a case that actually supports the SSI motherboard. It's just it's over the top.
Well, you're not getting into this because you're on a budget.
Right, yeah. I mean, that's the one thing is it's sort of it's hard to argue, in a budget kind of sense. I agree. It's you can't get a McLaren for, McLaren has $900,000 McLarens and they have $300,000 McLarens. You know what? none of you or me can drive any of those cars near the limit. It doesn't matter. But that $900,000 McLaren, which I saw in person at the car show, it's like, oh, damn. It's crazy. But the $900,000 McLaren made the $300,000 one next to it look cheap. Like, at the same time, though, the value on Threadripper is awesome. I mean, it's just like, if you really, you know, I really sort of see it as you ride around in a Jets, you hang out with that Kim Mega dude, whatever, who's like lighting cigars with $100 bills. And yeah,
Kim.com.
Kim.com. You're going to buy one of these. You're going to call up and you're going to buy one of these. They're going to deliver it to your house. It'll be $20,000 and whatever. You're going to play Minecraft on it, right? This is like, you're not having a problem.
You're going to have a Minecraft server as long as a Discord server or as well.
So that's very fair. Those people really exist. At the same time, if I'm building, I'm working at home, I'm a contractor, I need thread count for 3D rendering, yeah, I'm gonna go with Threadripper, right? I mean, you can't beat that deal because you're paying for the hardware. So
I have a question. This is just high level. So have we figured out why are they calling this a Xeon? You know, this seems to be in a weird wannabe consumer space, but also, I mean, as we saw, Xeons are way higher priced. You know, it's just a different class.
They haven't said, and you know, I was just thinking about it this morning because I just like
go
ahead.
Thought. I think that when you look at like the Core i9 Skylake X parts, they can all use the same motherboards. This is like a class all of its own that needs its own motherboard, needs its own case, needs 2 power supplies. So they probably just didn't want any kind. Oh, I got a Core i9. I'm going to go buy a Core i9 motherboard.
Yeah. No, I you know, and actually, but I was thinking this morning because it's sort of, it's like Xeon, Xeon is like, that's like, oh, that's all work. You know, it's too professional sounding no matter what.
Well, it's server grade. You think a server grade, you know, like you're not going to be overclocking servers, but this,
I don't know, man. Yeah. I'd be pretty pumped if I'm like, I just bought, you know, a mother effing overclockable Xeon. That's
right. But I was just thinking this morning, like it's a CPU with like 2 motherboards made just to overclock the thing. You know, two power supplies, 2 1600-watt power supplies, special case, all this stuff, and then like a really edgy name. I really think they could have gone with Core i11. I know it's insane because then you get your spinal
tap. You turn it up to
thing,
11. Yep.
You know, and they're like, yeah, well, we could have made a Core i10, but
no, we went to 11.
This one goes to Core i11. It's because I mean, I feels like this is gonna be like a one-off thing, right?
Yeah,
very limited.
Well. And friend of the show, Ryan from Creative, says he thinks it's because they're trying to position it versus Threadripper, you know, a Xeon versus Threadripper fight. But also at the same time, AMD has Epic, which, you know, some people are saying, you know, like, wouldn't this be a direct competitor to Epic? You know, since it's Xeon versus Epic, I
think the argument that this doesn't compete with Epic in a lot of ways is Epic is not. It's not made as an overclockable part. I mean, this part from the beginning.
I mean, neither is Xeon's really.
Well, Xeons they just lock them intentionally. I mean, Core i9s and Core i7s have been Xeon parts derivatives for a while. So I think, but I just think Epic is not, this is like Epic and Xeon server, those SP, those 8180s, those are like, we're going to put in server. You're going to run this thing until basically the world ends. At super stock, the fans are going to be, you know, 400 dB, and that doesn't matter because you're running a data center. This CPU is the supercar of CPUs, right? It's just like there's no other way to sort of see it because it's so over the top. Everything about it is over the top.
So with that in mind,
except for the name.
Well, you know, you don't want to brag about what you have.
Well, you do it though. You're hanging with Kim.com. You want to like?
I'm just kidding.
This is a backwards brag, Alina. Yeah, I bought one of those. I called up. I got one of those $20,000 gaming machines from, you know, so and so, and I said, the only bummer thing is it's called a Xeon. I was hoping for a Core or something. Core, you know.
Ooh, actually, you know what? Atomic has a good idea. They could have called the Core iX.
Core iX.
So it's a Core i10, you know, but also it's a Xeon. So, you know, Core iX, and it sounds cool, right?
You get all the Mac users buying it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think it gets a little confusing though because they have the Core X thing that confused the hell out of people when they came out with Skylake X.
Yes.
They called them Core X parts.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what about these other parts that fit at the same socket. Yeah, that's. And then later on, they sort of they retroactively named them. I think Core X or something. Clearly they haven't. I really don't know because the name could have used over the topness, like Threadripper. That's so over. That's so.
I mean,
AMD,
it's a great
right?
name.
That's just like Threadripper, right?
That's a great name.
It just sounds like I got Xeon W3175X.
All right, so I had a legitimate question, which was, so it's all over the top. What would you actually use it for?
Well, so if I had my boss and I worked in Atom or content creation where I really did need some stupid amount of performance, I would say, yeah, I would actually say, yeah, buy me this, right? One, it's Intel. Companies like to buy people Intel parts. Two, it's fast. 3, it's crazy. And again, stock speeds, it is faster than the Threadripper in most things. There's some things heavily multi-threaded, multi-threaded tasks. Threadripper with its 32 cores actually did, pull dead even and actually come out ahead in some things. But for the most part, for what most people are going to do, it's actually faster. And there's a huge price to be paid for it too.
I was watching Steve at Gamers Nexus video this morning, and he was testing it because they use Adobe Premiere for their own tasks, and so he was actually running tasks that like they were gonna do anyway. That was their test. Like, hey, we're gonna do this task that we were gonna do anyway. And he said it literally saves them like hours using this job.
Oh, nice.
Man. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. It's like, oh man, I can imagine how we can put it to the test.
Don't we have unlimited electricity as part of our lease here?
I mean, hopefully, who knows?
Yeah,
you would hope so. Well, just to wrap this up, because we do have other stuff to get to. Gordon and I are going to be finishing up a video, a standalone video on YouTube that you can watch. Hopefully, it goes up tomorrow. So we'll go even over more of the benchmark charts and get a little more in depth into the actual testing, like the article. So stay tuned for that for sure. But anything else you want to say on that before we move on?
No, I mean there's still there's a sort of whiff of vaporish with it. I don't know board prices. It's like if you officially launch this thing, you should be able to have board prices. But maybe that's because they're going directly to system integrators. But yeah, it's a crazy part.
That makes me think my final thing with this is, even though they say it's eventually going to be a boxed retail part, if you're interested in it, don't wait for that is what I would say. If I'm interested in this, I would go look to buy one at a system integrator as soon as possible. Because if there are that few of them, the fact that you need a specialized case, you need a specialized motherboard, you need all this stuff, I wouldn't necessarily bet money on the fact that you will, in fact, be able to buy retail parts and all those extra retail specialized cases, extra retail motherboards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I do know one thing that is sort of crazy about the having watched the PC enthusiast space for a long time is, interestingly, nobody ever there's a certain part of the market, it's real, where the higher the price, it's actually the more they want it. So, and there are really people out there who are like, I want the best. I don't care if I'm paying 80% more.
This is what LeBron gets for his kid, right?
For 2% more, yeah. I mean, yeah. What do you care, right? I mean, you want like something. It's a show off piece. This CPU is a statement CPU.
Throw it with a couple Titan RTXs, you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, you do your backwards brag. Oh, I had to pay $25,000 for my machine. It's just like God, it's terrible.
Oh, it's horrible, man.
Like, really? I just got one of these 580s on sale with 3 free games for $150. I had to save 2 months for it. Yeah.
All right, well, we got some people excited for RTX and laptops and to talk about Gordon. So are you ready?
Let's see if I can actually remember last week on the RTX laptops. But yes, I think so.
Let's do it.
Which I forget which chart I gave you to use. So
we got a couple, but we have a video up on YouTube. You can watch it. It's the review of the MSI GS75 Stealth, the first RTX laptop that we got in for testing. There have been others out there, but this is the first one we got. It's got a 1080 Max-Q, or 2080 Max-Q. I'm sorry.
And it's a beautiful laptop, GS75, extremely well behaved, 17 inches, 1080p 144 panel. H class CPU, 6 core and RTX 2080 Max-Q. in actual performance tests, very decent performance, especially when you put it against probably what it was fair to put it against, which is 1080 Max Q. Decent bump. There are some things where it's faster than a full tilt 1080, and there's some things where it's slightly slower, but for the most part, you're getting it into a very light 5-pound gaming laptop. All kinds of win in conventional gaming. I think it's a fantastic chip. I do want to hear Brad's opinion. I think it's a fantastic chip for all of today's games, but the thing that really does make me worry a little bit is its performance in ray tracing. Which, if you want, why don't we flash up the first one?
3D
Mark
desktop.
Port Royal.
All right, give me a second.
So, and I'll actually just go ahead and talk forgot the audio listeners. We're showing off a chart with RTX performance from desktop cards, 2080 Ti, 2080, 2070, 2060 that PC Gamer did. Jared over there, awesome guy. And he just had, basic scores for this brand new test from 3D Mark that only tests ray tracing performance. And I just wanted to compare what the RTX 2080 Max Q does against it. And to give you an idea, the RTX 2080 Ti is 8100, the 2080 is 5900, the 2070 is 4900, and the 2060 is 3700. So the MSI GS75 with its 2080 Max Q comes right in at 4100, which is pretty damn close to a 2060 card in ray tracing performance.
Yeah, it's closer to the 2060 than the 2070.
Which is weird because typically, like if you look at Max Q parts from the GTX 10 series Pascal, like the Max Q versions were essentially the step down. So if you had a 1080 Max Q, it performed like a 1070, etc., etc. In this card, at least in this, ray tracing performance, it's not performing like the step down. It's performing more like 2 steps down. It's performing closer to the RTX 2060 than it is the 2070.
Right.
Despite theoretically being a 2080.
Yeah, so. and the thing is, just to give you another idea, I ran Battlefield 5, and there's one scene. There were plenty of physics going on, too, so that does drag down frame rate and everything. But one frame, DXR off, 90 frames a second, same scene, same position, DXR on, 45 frames a second, which is like, what?
Cut in half.
Pretty painful. And actually, go ahead and pull up this next chart, though. This is the green one. So basically...
Super interesting to me.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm using it in my head.
No. Yeah, actually, I'd love to hear you because you look, probably people are wondering, are these exactly the same parts? I went ahead and I broke out the specs that NVIDIA has listed for the GTX and RTX series. Interestingly, they no longer specifically state Max Q performance like clock speeds. It's just simply they're saying, 2080 clock range. There's a high, there's a low, there's a high and low. But if you're looking at this green chart, Adam, if you could pull that up.
Hold on. I did not get that one in. 1 second.
Yeah, so it basically shows you that part for part, 10 series to 20 series, or except for the 1070 desktop to mobile, exact same CUDA cores.
There we go.
Same amount of memory, same type of memory, same memory interface, same amount of memory bandwidth. But the really big variables you see on these, of course, between mobile and desktop are the thermals and the clock speeds.
Mm-hmm. And those base clocks are real low for these for these RTX parts.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering because I've not done a lot of testing with desktop cards. That's Brad's thing. But I will say the GS75 running, a couple a non-ray trace game or demo, and then a ray trace demo. I saw clocks about 1300 to 1250. So 1350 to 1250 generally, which, I mean, that's...
So that's towards the higher end of what they're saying the base clock range is. So
yeah, and the one thing that kind of gets me is I don't understand. Well, am I hitting the boost clock or am I hitting the base clock? I don't know. It's a little strange, and I think NVIDIA is trying to obfuscate where these things perform by just simply giving these two different ranges. I'd feel better if it just said max Q range is this, non-max Q is this. but it's just sort of this overall, low bass, high bass.
I wonder if those ultra low bass clocks are for when RTX and DLSS are firing up, because I find it really interesting that the ray tracing performance is so much lower for this mobile part than it is for the desktop parts, where you would expect it to fall.
Sure, and apparently
maybe clock speeds have a much greater impact on ray tracing performance than we initially suspected using just the desktop parts.
And it feels like it too, because unless they're lying, it's the same amount of CUDA cores, right? And if everything else is the same, but although, do they break out ray tracing and compute cores? Otherwise, is that all just simply counted as part of the CUDA cores?
Yeah, ray tracing and tensor cores are separate. They're separate counts.
Yeah, so they don't publish the amount of cores for these. So here's the other thing.
Would guess that it's the same as the desktop parts. The desktop parts, they are published. So
okay, so they must be the same then, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to dig in that. But what's interesting too is for NVIDIA. Oh, and of course there's a typo right there. So many typos. GeForce RTX 2080 mobile.
Mm-hmm.
The GigaRays, there's a low and the high. So GigaRay low performance is 5, NVIDIA's own rating. GigaRay's high is 7. So if you compare that to an RTX 2080 desktop, it's basically 8, period. 8 GigaRays.
Yep.
So if you're on the good side, which I imagine is what you're going to get from a full tilt 2080 part, 7, right? So it's still a little bit off of a full desktop part. But on that low side at 5, that's basically the same as a 2060 desktop. Probably a little bit more, I'm sure.
It's very interesting. I wonder if it's tied to clock speeds.
Right, because you would think, unless they nerfed all the other, RT and DLSS cores, but I don't think so.
I would doubt it, because then they would have to actually have a new die for it. So
yeah, unless these are just simply marked off bad. But I think, again, you look at the big tell, because clock speed is not limited because the parts are probably limited, but because of the thermals. The RTX 2080 is a 80 to 150 watt part, so probably 80 for max Q and 150 for a full tilt part.
Well, and actually, a lot of people were asking about the thermal performance on the MSI GS75 specifically. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I'm not sure I understand the question, but if they're asking,
they're just wondering, is it throttling more than usual? How hot is the actual thing getting?
Yeah, I actually found it to be really well behaved. Honestly, when I did a lot of the testing, the fans are like, "Why is it so quiet?" It makes you go like, something's wrong, like the fan curve's too turned down, or maybe I've got the wrong drivers or something. Is because most gaming laptops, especially that thin, when you hammer the GPU, it starts sounding like a 28-core Xeon pretty soon, right? It's just kind of like this thing was really, really quiet, and I was like, I'm hoping, and in fact, I did testing with it on max fan because I just I don't want this thing to throttle because these fans are way too low. But it's just out of the box. It's just super quiet, and you're getting really good performance. So, and it's really well behaved. I actually have some thermal images of about 10 different RTX laptops that are running at CES. They've been running for 6 hours in their demo booth, and they didn't look like they were going to catch on fire. So
is that your baseline?
Yeah, these are all NVIDIA really wants to sort of hide max Q. They don't really want to call them max Q anymore. They just simply say they're RTX 2080 laptops, and they're saying if it's a thin laptop, it's max Q. What do you think? We broke the law of physics, Well, no, you still got to say.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like that either. But
I have a question.
Yeah,
we haven't talked about. We're talking about ray tracing.
Right.
We haven't actually talked about actual gaming performance. How does this thing stack up?
It's really good. It's basically faster than all of the. It easily whoops 1070 full max P, as people like to call them, the full tilt 1070 parts. It whoops the big thick 17-inch laptops. It whoops the max, and of course when you're looking at a max Q 1070, it's just destruction. It's definitely faster than 1080 max Q laptops, and then it's actually on par and actually faster than some 1080 full tilt 1080 laptops.
And where does that fall in terms of pricing among them?
So pricing is similar. This is GS75 is a premium laptop. $3,000, 32 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, 1080p panel at 144, no G-Sync, just 144, and the 2080 Max-Q for $3,000. Which, if you look at a loaded up 2080 Max-Q laptop, they are actually
1080.
A 1080 laptop. They were actually very similar.
Okay.
So it's definitely the guidance I heard from vendors. I talked a lot. I'm trying to get like how much it costs, because NVIDIA will never say. I heard about $100 more.
Okay.
The cost adder. And of course, we were, the discussion is like, why? Because on desktop, it was like a slap in the face, right? That's what triggered everybody. And this is not as bad. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's sort of all buried into the overall cost of a laptop. You can't buy it separately, but the vendors are saying $100. It wasn't unreasonable. So, and I was seeing some 2060 laptops for, I think an Acer this morning. The price they listed is about $1,700.
Okay.
Which is, when 1060s came out, and they were about $1,500 to $1,600. Yeah. So it's right in line. It's not over the top in pricing.
Well, it's really astonishing to me, like, especially in particular, this laptop that you reviewed. Like, you couldn't put a 1080 into this last generation. So this, right?
No.
It was a 1070 or 1060 last generation. So this is actually their top-end chip in a 5-pound laptop that apparently makes no noise. Right. And that's astounding.
Yeah, and that's sort of it's hard because a lot of people are very focused on all-out raw performance. But, yeah, you got a good point, Brad. This is better than what you're getting out of a 1080 17-inch gaming laptop. In a 5-pound gaming laptop, 5 pounds. That's only maybe half a pound heavier than an XPS 15. Right.
So I haven't really looked at. There's only like one other review right now, right? Or is there more now?
There's some other ones. There's definitely others.
I don't know what all they reviewed, because I think we had there were different models floating around.
Yeah.
Do you think this will see like a trickle down effect, so that like the 4-pound laptops also will have like a nice bump in performance as well?
Yeah, because down to 4 pounds, that's. I could see GS65. I think the GS65 would probably get a 2070 Max-Q, which is that's pretty damn good. Because before it used to be a 1070 Max-Q in the GS65. So the Aero 15, I think they're doing a 2080 Max-Q in the Aero 15 gigabyte Aero 15, which is a 15-inch laptop. That previously maxed out at a 1070 Max-Q part, and so everybody gets sort of like a boost. The controversial part, of course, is like, oh, ray tracing is going to go nowhere. Why pay extra for it? That kind of that pushback that you always get.
The Aero 15, Tom's Hardware actually reviewed that, and I don't know if it was the Max model, but it had the 2070 Max-Q, not 2080.
Maybe it's a 2070, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Zephyrus as well.
Zephyrus
that was around there was a 2070 as well.
For their 17-inch?
I think so.
I gotta look, but
yeah,
I mean,
we'd have to, there's barely anything out there. We got people asking about the new Razer ones with RTX, and I haven't seen anybody get those in.
Razer's a 2070 Max-Q, I think.
Yeah, so it's still, and people are asking. There are some people waiting to see opinions. Is it too early to say, hey, this is the best RTX laptop you can get right now? I mean, because really we've only seen one, or do you think you have an idea? I'd be pretty damn happy. The GS75 fixes a lot of problems I've had with the GS65, which was if you ever wanted to upgrade storage, it was a nightmare, right? Because it was an inverted motherboard and the M.2s were on the other side of the motherboard. It's like, oh, no problem. Open your laptop up, pull the motherboard out. It's like, no, that's not normal. So this one, you pull the bottom off and there's at least 2 M.2 slots in there. So easily, thermals are great. Performance is great. Cost, I would probably 32 gigs is excessive, but I was looking at their price and it's $100 less for a 16 gig version. So
might as well get 32.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could make an argument, and I'd have to see, but I would make an argument maybe 2070 Max-Q makes a lot more sense, because there's a big premium for 1080, 2080 Max-Q. Those very high-end 1080 laptops were very expensive. So same thing with RTX 2080. You probably save $300 by going to a 2070 and still get really, really good performance. It's only a 1080 panel, but 144. So
1080 144 is the ideal gaming laptop panel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you go any higher than that, it starts destroying battery life. And I mean, you really don't need bigger than that in a 15-inch laptop. You don't need higher resolution.
Oh yeah, and also the battery. I should mention battery life on the GS7 V was great. I mean,
yeah,
I think MSI
amazing. Yeah,
quotes 8 hours. I'm like, yeah, sure, maybe if you crank the screen brightness down, but at our video playback, it was like 6.5, nearly 7 hours.
That's not bad.
Yeah, for a gaming laptop, it's 82 watt hour battery. You know, they could have gone to 99, but then you get more weight, larger chassis. But so it's a really good laptop if you want the portability. The only thing that I'm just not a fan of the placement of the trackpad. It's oddly centered. It's like they forgot to move it over the inch it should have gone, because it's a wide aspect ratio trackpad, and it's basically centered on the eye. It's just like, what? So every time you put your hand on it, the palm direction is good, but every time you put your hand on it, your palm is just like resting right on the trackpad. So
is it because they thought there was gonna be a 10 key next to it, or
there
what?
is a 10 key?
Oh,
but I don't know if maybe they just wanted to clear your hand for the WASD keys, or somebody was at lunch that day and they forgot to move it. It's still a great laptop. I mean, it's pretty fantastic. But yeah, I want to see more. I want to see 2070. I want to see full tilt 2080s. I want to see 2060s. 2060s have always been like a great. $1,700 for most people are great parts. One thing I do want to mention though, last thing, is I do think it is a little different. Whereas desktop, everybody was like, I'm going to go buy the older one. I don't need this stuff. I think you don't have much of a choice. Remember, if you're going to go out and you're going to buy a new laptop, unless there's a huge price savings, which is fine. If you can get a 1070 for a Steel, go for it, right? But I think for the most part, there's really no reason to say no to these RTX laptops, even if you don't believe in the RTX thing. And this ray tracing performance is kind of scary at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, there's one ray tracing game out right now. It does have the capabilities, and it's still the fastest mobile graphics chip that's ever existed.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Well, and I think everything that you were saying about we want to see more, et cetera, about this laptop. In my head, this is still like an awesome. Like the complete package on this thing is so awesome that if you're thinking about that and that's within your budget range, like I would seriously consider getting that laptop, because everything, it even looks great in my
Yeah. And then Wesley's asking, do we think drivers will help the performance over the next couple months? How do you think support's going to be?
Yes, it always does.
Yeah, drivers and game optimizations, right? Well, I mean, Battlefield, they definitely help game optimizations already since launch, so it's only going to get better, probably. And then maybe
there's a lot of stuff you can do to tweak there. If ray tracing performance is that heavily tied into clocks, if that is what it is, then they can only improve so much. That being said, EA has already put out that big patch for Battlefield that like doubled the frame rates effectively or something like that. So
right.
Expect improvements.
Yeah. But to point out, I did have the patch version. It was the latest version of Battlefield, so it was kind of like a little scary to see the frames drop like that. It's like,
well, yeah, that's when I just was looking at your chart when you were talking about that. The fact that it's max gigaRays is 5 for the desktop 2060 and 5 for the the low spec. I mean, that's very telling, I think.
Right. So you do wonder what is up with that, because assuming that all the ray tracing cores and the DLS cores are the same, then why is it just the clocks? Is it the power consumption? I don't know. But there's no reason not to buy it. I definitely, I think it's a great, right? Elaine is going to be here. She's going, oh yeah, good deal. She's like, huh? I'm awake now. I was falling asleep.
Deal is ranked higher than pizza.
If you're getting a 10 series laptop on a Steel right now because they're on the way out, yeah, more power to you. That's nothing wrong with that. So, but I wouldn't say, oh, I don't want 2060 because I'm anti-ray tracing.
I would agree that I feel like the landscape is very different here on the laptop side than on the desktop side.
Yeah. Because plus all these new designs, there were a ton of new laptops based on this new GPU. You're not going to be able to get the older design with it too. So,
how many were there at CES? 40, 60?
There were 40, and I think there were 17 or so that were basically Max-Q designs. Well, thin and light.
Speaking of, you said that you had gotten thermal pictures of most of those laptops. Were you surprised about the MSI because it was so much like quieter and running cooler than what you would have assumed from seeing those pictures, or?
Well, that's the one laptop I didn't have.
Oh, okay.
Because the laptops that people wanted to keep secret were not in the NVIDIA booth when the media were there. So
all right.
It was everything else that was sort of public. The laptops that got, that were previously 10 series that got rolled into 20 series mostly.
Okay. And those are probably engineering samples, right? So they're probably not even the final.
Yeah, definitely things can change in the BIOS. They're early things, but they'd been running all day, and they don't seem to be any hotter to me than previous generation laptops. Okay. Really, this GS75 is just amazingly quiet for what it is, but 1250 to 1350 clocks. So
yeah.
It's only January 30th. That thing for me is already in consideration for laptop of the year from everything I've seen.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love, everyone knows I love a good 17-inch laptop, and man, that thing.
And it's the weight. I think that's the one thing that the industry doesn't get. It's not about thinness. Who cares? I wouldn't.
Well, it's partially about thinness.
Well, no, not really. I wouldn't give a damn if it were a half-inch thicker, but if it weighed 4 pounds, 5 pounds, then it's really the weight that's when it's on your back. I mean, okay, half-inch is kind of insane. But.
I was going to say, it would be a little funny if you had this super thick 4-inch, 4-pound laptop.
Yeah, that's like as thick as a phone book, but it's so light.
You're like, what the hell is in this? Nothing at all.
It's those, what is it? Helium hard drives.
Yeah, so, I really think just to get, GS65 was amazing too, 4 pounds, 1070 Max Q at 4 pounds, and this is 5 pounds 2080 Max Q. So
yeah, I think it just definitely feels like on the laptop side that you're just getting the best that you can get, so it doesn't really matter that the generations are changing.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested in how the 26, and there's so many, we have to wait and see, but for the most part, it's solid. We'll see. The ray tracing thing is the only thing that is really, really kind of like I will see. Nobody's gonna...
And if it is tied to thermals and clocks, we've said it before on the show, laptop design makes such a huge difference. Like when you're talking desktop cards, like it could the cooler makes a difference, but they're all in towers. With laptop designs, everything's so integrated, especially something like this that's under 5 pounds. So in another laptop that is designed differently, that has the same part, you might not see the same 2060 level results. So we're going to have to wait and see, get our hands on some more laptops.
Definitely. Definitely.
Cool. We want to hit some questions before we head out.
Sure.
Definitely.
What time is it? Yeah, we got a little bit of time. So once again, you can always at me in whatever live stream thing you're using. But if you want to jump on the Discord channel, we actually have a channel. Our Discord server, we have a channel for the questions, and you can drop those in at any time, and we'll get to them later. But yeah, for now, we've got a couple on YouTube. Steve asked earlier, will G-Sync work on an external G-Sync, will G-Sync work on an external G-Sync monitor connected to the Thunderbolt 3 port on the GS75?
I need to test that actually, but I would imagine it should, because if you're getting, native DisplayPort out, you should be able to support G-Sync. I've had issues in the past trying to get it to work, though. On different laptops, it gets a little weird because last line out is the Intel GPU on these things, so it's entirely possible it doesn't work. I tell you what would work is a FreeSync monitor over HDMI. I think, right? Who knows?
Nope, it would not, because FreeSync for GeForce cards only work over DisplayPort as well.
Thanks. Thank you.
Alan asked, can RTX Mobile actually decode red code raw in real time? Have you tried any of that red code raw stuff?
I have not, but I know that. Thank you, worker at NVIDIA. One of the demos they actually showed off was handling raw red or on a RTX laptop. So it makes me wonder if you're asking because you want an NVIDIA demo pointed out from CES. They were working with some red raw format at CES.
Okay. Rusty, friend of the show, Rusty's asking, is there any hope we could see Thunderbolt in the X570 boards when they come out? They said we wouldn't get PCIe 4, but here we are.
Good Lord, I can't remember who has the X570 now.
That's AMD.
Thunderbolt? No, no, it's not going to happen. And that's sorry, no, ain't going to happen. I know people have hacked in Thunderbolt 3 support into AMD platforms in the past, but this is one of the problems with Intel holding all of the control of Thunderbolt 3. Is it's been harder for the competition to get it. I know that they have said in the past they're planning on opening it up the way they did with USB and PCIe. For people who don't know, Intel basically created PCIe, NVMe, USB. There's a ton of standards they've created. They haven't given up Thunderbolt 3 yet. They have said they would, but yeah, clearly it's hurting the competition. And of course, it is included in the next generation of Intel CPUs, part of the Thunderbolt 3. So it's a big advantage for Intel. It makes me wonder if that's going to make them slow down their opening it up, sharing with the other children.
Theoretically, a motherboard maker, if they wanted to add value, could buy the Thunderbolt controller and stuff and throw it into the motherboard, right? The name motherboard, or not so much?
Yeah, it's technically possible, but there's just so many vagaries and weirdness with Thunderbolt 3 over the years that I don't think you can do it. Intel has to certify things. So
that's in the back of the line.
That's in the back of the line. And then, like, even just with laptops, if you had a laptop when the first Thunderbolt 3 laptops came out, and you're like, how come it's not showing up in the device manager? Like, it's like basically not anywhere in the computer. You could not find that it had Thunderbolt 3 enumerated anywhere, utilities, whatever. And the only time you could is if, and I don't know if it's changed, but if you plug in a Thunderbolt 3 device, then you would now magically see the Thunderbolt 3 part show up. It would tell you, oh, Intel Alpine Ridge or whatever it is. So then you could see it, and then when you unplugged it, it would vanish. And some of the motherboard vendors had told me, because I was like, what the hell's going on with this? They're like, oh, well, Intel is doing a lot to make sure that it hides itself from the system when it's like, what? Why would you do that? It's I don't know why, what the rationale is for it. I've never actually asked them, but it gets a little weird. So that's why I'm like, again, you would think like, oh, I'm just going to buy, because there's Thunderbolt 3 and adding cards. ASUS has had them as add-on cards. Gigabyte's had them for many years. But you can't just take one and put it into any system. There has to be actual BIOS support for it. So
yep,
it's wacky.
So Big Ben's asking, are you willing to put that on paper, Gordon?
That what? There's going to be Thunderbolt 3 and X570?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll write that on like a phone book size. I can give me 25 sheets.
Wait, that there is or isn't?
It's not going to be.
Isn't. Okay.
There will not be Thunderbolt 3 in the next generation.
All right, somebody bookmark this video. And we'll see.
Why even bother? I just like, that's a gimme. Like, yeah, like when I get that right, you should give me like 2 extra ones. Like I got 2 extra ones wrong.
Oh, you get a freebie?
Two freebies.
Like they cancel each other out?
Yeah, because I get like, I'm so right on this.
That would be an interesting twist.
I got a billboard going up outside our building. It's going to say, ain't no going to be no Thunderbolt 3 in the next AMD chipset. It's just not. It's an Intel thing right now. It's an Intel joint, as Spike says.
We have our first question from the Discord channel in the
let me check the server. Did you check the server? I have a server, Adam.
I used to have Voodoo XFi. That's his username. Is asking, are there when we come to the RTX laptop? Can you give me an idea on 2070 Max-Q versus 2060 full card? Worth it for 1440p gaming? And are the laptop displays G-Sync compatible now that NVIDIA control panel is going to enable that? Like if you have a high refresh rate monitor, can you enable G-Sync on the laptop side? So 2 questions. 2070 Max-Q versus 2060 full. I
honestly don't know until I see the part, but it's 10 more than it. So I would think that, interestingly, if it looks like we see the same pattern here, 1080 full tilt to 1080 Max-Q was the biggest drop off, because you went from basically what we're looking at 1080 mobile. You went from 150 watts, 180 watts for the high end part to like down to 90 watts, right? So you cut the power in half on the 1080 Max-Q part. 2070 and 1070 are very similar. It's not like you see a huge power savings. Look, we're looking at 115 watts on a full tilt 2070 part, it looks like, to 80 watts. So the nerfing of the 2070 isn't as big. I think you will get way more performance out of a 2070 Max-Q than out of a 1060 straight up non Max Q part.
Okay. And what about the second part, the high refresh rate laptop displays? Can
you enable basically FreeSync support?
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine that
because they didn't say laptop specifically; they just said GeForce Experience
for
enabling it. Yeah.
They haven't said that. It's entirely possible, but remember, laptops, there's actually no G-Sync module, so it's all done in the motherboard hardware. I would think it would depend basically on the actual panel, because not all of them have the range that you would really sort of need. But I could see NVIDIA letting go of getting a little looser there. But I'd have to wait and see. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Question for the first time from Twitter. Sweet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's not too many Twitter viewers on.
You check my Twitter server out?
Actually, I got a notification for that. It's the first time that you were streaming an hour ago or whatever.
Well, no, we've been streaming for a bit. At least
this is the first time they sent me a notification.
Oh, a notification. Oh, interesting. Yes, Scott is asking, would you put more money into the CPU or the GPU? Would you go with a 8700K 2070 or a 2600X 2060?
Wait, what?
I think it really just depends on your use case, which is what we say like all the time, right?
Yeah.
So what are the choices here?
8700K with a 2070 or a 2700X with a 2060. But also just from a high level, do you tend to put more money into a CPU or a GPU?
Yeah.
If you had to,
Just really depend on the use case, right? If you're just purely going for gaming, that's one use case, versus if you're doing both content creation and gaming, versus you're doing more content creation than gaming. So if there's any extra particulars he could give us, that would help.
Yeah, he does say use cases: general, multi-purpose gaming, and Plex server.
Plex server.
But wait, he's looking at an 8700K. Well, it could be a she, but
8700K with a 2070 or 2600X with a 2060.
So a Plex server, it leans heavily on the encode. Is either of those chips better at encoding?
Oh, well, the 2600 probably gonna. Well, I'd have to actually see it. I think it'll be pretty close, but I'm a little confused because you have an expensive CPU, expensive GPU versus not expensive CPU and less expensive GPU. So I thought it would have been reversed. So to me, the question is,
it is reversed.
Adam reversed it on.
No, I didn't. He corrected.
Okay.
He corrected. He meant 8700K with a 2060, 2600X with a 2070.
I would go for the more powerful graphics card personally.
Yeah,
I would always, in general, once you get past Ryzen 5, Core i5 levels, once you bump up to the 7 levels, the returns, as far as gaming performance goes, aren't that great. It's more worthwhile to get the extra horsepower in the graphics card.
Yeah, definitely. And for a general purpose gaming machine with Plex server, Ryzen with the 2070 is going to just
be great.
A way better choice, personally, than a 2060 and a 8700K. I mean, at the same time, that's a great gaming. Both are great gaming machines. But if you had to give, if I had a choice between those, I would take the 2071. Like with Brad.
There we go. Cool. A couple more, then we'll head out. Alan's asking, how fast have you tried pushing GDDR6? Is it possible to match the bandwidth of Radeon 7? They are an 8K gamer.
I have not done any overclocking.
Sorry, Gordon's face was just beautiful. Sorry.
He almost spit up in his mouth.
I don't know enough about 8K gaming to talk very much about that. It's not anything I've tested extensively. I also haven't overclocked GDDR6 too much and compared it against HBM, so I can't really speak knowledgeably to the trade-offs there.
I'm just trying to think of like.
Sorry, Gordon is Googling AK gaming right now.
That's just like, I'm like, what is that? What is that exactly? What is AK? I don't even remember what because the whole 12K AK thing, it makes no sense, of course, because you would. I'll give you an example. 4K times 3 is not 12K. It's way more.
Nice. Way to go, AK gamer. I'm jealous of you.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find out what is AK resolution. I don't even.
If you're 8K gaming though, I think you will need the traditional shading firepower to be able to push that very hard. And personally, I would lean towards getting a much more powerful card like the 2080 or the 2080 Ti over an AMD variant that has HBM bandwidth, I think, depending on how Radeon 7 winds up.
8K is 7680 by 4320.
33 megapixels, and I think 4K is about what, 8?
Yeah, I think it's 8.
So again, it doesn't sound like a lot more than 4K. It's like, oh, it's only 4K more than 4K. It's actually, that's like more than 3 times the pixels.
That's funny.
It's like triple. Yeah, that's definitely your quad SLI GeForce RTX solution, I think. Right? Or, I mean, the Titan
4
RTX.
by 4K.
2. You can't use more than 2 in games anymore. So 2.
Yeah.
All right, we have no more questions in the Full Nerd questions on the Discord server, but we got one more from YouTube. Acorn Electron is talking about more leadership has announced that they're leaving AMD. What is your take on what's happening with multiple departures over there?
Well, who else is left? I know James Pryor left, though. He hasn't said where.
I don't know. But
James Pryor left. A bunch of people got shuffled around.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not a good look. It's a little scary. I know their numbers were actually pretty good. They're kicking butt, but it's just sort of things moving around and people leaving. It's certainly sort of critical people leaving. It seems like that have left is not good. We'll see how it shakes out, who replaces them. But any organization is not one person, right? It's as Adam says, it's not the director, it's the whole thing. So
yep,
there's other people involved at these companies.
So you're not worried.
Yeah, I am worried. Of course I'm worried because it's like, what? And then it's like every time I went to an Intel architecture day. It's like, what? It's like, when did you come here? It's like, how'd you get in here? You work at AMD. It's like, oh yeah.
You could always put a positive.
It was Ontal from
You could
AMD.
put a positive spin on it, even though, like you, I'm also worried that it means that they're doing something so right that they're getting poached.
Yeah, no, clearly they are.
I would also say that AMD puts a lot of work into talking to the community and having its people talk to the community, so these names more. There's a lot of shuffling around at Intel and NVIDIA and every other company too, but Intel and NVIDIA don't want you talking about Jim Pryor or Rob Halleck or Jim Anderson. Yeah. They want you talking about Intel and NVIDIA. So I think that's maybe a perception difference here too.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, Brad, because they're so public-facing. When they leave, it's very high profile. And then, of course, no one knows where James Pryor went, but everybody expects in 2 weeks it'll be like, hey, I'm working on Intel now. Really? Who isn't working it? And there's, of course, rumors of Intel trying to get Lisa Su over there. And yeah, I think that, of course, would be like crazy.
That would be scary.
It'd be huge.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, what? But that, again, that's a good sign. The Yankees didn't get where they are without writing checks for everybody in the world. That's good, right? Yankees fans.
Cool. Well, that's it. Other than if anyone wants to give their Super Bowl picks.
Patriots, come on now. Actually, I can't say it out loud. People might watch this show. I bought a Todd Gurley jersey to troll people because I live in New England. So
you're all about the Patriots still?
The Rams, like I said in the last episode, the Rams were my preseason pick, but now they're playing the Patriots. I'm going with the Patriots. So they're my team. Gotta.
If you say Patriots, someone will kick in the front door with a heavy Boston accent. Southie accent's gonna get. Who's talking about the Pats?
They're actually New England sports fans are no joke. The Patriots lost a big playoff game, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and my mother thought my wife wasn't sad enough about it, and they got in a big fight and didn't talk for like a year.
Yikes. Dang! Wow.
I got one better for you, Brad.
That's pretty good.
I got one better. So I am an Oakland Raiders supporter. And
all you need to say.
When this is the thing. Now, typically, fans tear the city up when they win. You're so happy. It's like, oh my God, it's been 50 years since we got a championship. Oakland Raiders fans rioted after we lost that to the Bucks in that game, right? They rioted, turned over cars, lit stuff on fire. Oakland Raiders fans riot when they lose the Super Bowl. So I don't know what happens if they win because, I mean, I don't remember. I was a kid the last time they won.
I feel like Oakland would riot regardless.
Yeah.
Woo, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Time to riot.
Riot.
So here, I'm going to say I heard a lot of arguments that the offensive line is going to be a problem for the Pats because they think they can just pressure Brady, and the way to beat Brady is to pressure him. But I'm going to go with experience. I'm going to go with Belichick, and I'm going to go with Brady, even though I don't want them to win at all. In fact, I will be so happy if they lose. But if it were me, it's going to be the Patriots.
I think that's him saying if he was betting on it.
Yeah, or my money, yes, definitely. I just
Either
think
way,
the
I have
experience.
the day off of work.
You have the day off? Wait, what? It's
Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Super Bowl Monday. I've only worked one Monday after Super Bowl in my life, and that was when I started here at PC World because I started on like January 14th, and I felt like I couldn't take a day off like a week and a half later or something like that.
So you take it off because if they lose, then you have to have time to have the proper morning in New England.
Well, going with your language and your verbiage, yes, the Patriots are often in the Super Bowl, but I take every Super Bowl off regardless. It's an optional holiday in my house. My kids can have it off too. I don't care.
I was just thinking,
we hang out, we party, we all get together. My friends and family at like 10 in the morning, and we just hang out, eating food and drinking till like midnight, and then we fall asleep and wake up whenever.
Sounds great.
Nice.
I was just thinking because of that whole wife story getting in a fight, like throwing mashed potato around because it's just like you didn't support the Pats enough. That's why we lost.
You were only 75% sad.
Yeah, it's too low.
My kid just walked up outside. She's like, "What are you yelling about?" She thought I was yelling at her.
Oh, that's funny.
You're only 75% sad.
All right, well, Lena, where are you putting your money?
I haven't been paying attention this year to football. I'm gonna
Just
get
pick
dropped
one.
from the show now.
You've got two. Just pick one.
Well, I mean, the easy money's always on the Pats, but I do like the idea of the Rams winning.
Yeah,
it would be the ultimate payback for the videotaping of the walkthrough of the Rams. We remember that still, Patriots fans. We remember.
Yeah, I want the Patriots to win because I think then Brady will retire. So
why do you want him to retire?
Because we need to move on from this whole Patriots thing. Give him one more win, let him retire. I'll let him have one more win. Go for it. If it means he gets to retire. Because I guarantee if they lose, he ain't gonna retire. But if they win, he might retire.
Yeah,
that's true. Better go out on a high note.
Yeah. Hey, do it. Okay, I'll give it to him.
You're not a real hater, Adam.
It's within Adam's power to grant.
I'll give it to him. Go for it.
A real hater would say no. Lose to the team that you were accused of videotaping their walkthrough years ago, creating that controversy. Even got Arlen Specter in on that, if I remember right. And then they retire after that. Just slink away in shame.
Yep.
If you were a real hater, but obviously not a real hater, Adam.
All right, Gordon, let's take us out.
Check back next week for your talk of PC. Oh, wait. I've lost that. Sorry. Check back next week for your fix of PC talk on the Full Nerd. Yeah, it's been a hard week,
He's had a long week.
It's been a long week. For our audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, and send questions and comments to the Full Nerd at PCWorld.com. We don't even know if it works anymore, so please do. Thanks for coming. I'm just kidding. It does. I'm Gordon Ung with Brad Charkis.
Adios.
Eleni E.
Bye, everyone.
And Adam Patrick Murray.
See you on the Discord.
Our server. I'm putting my name on it.